All right, good afternoon, everyone. Sorry we're starting just a few minutes late. I wanted to make sure that enough people had jumped on, but hopefully we'll get a few more people as the time moves on. But I know your time is valuable, so I wanted to go ahead and start. Thank you so much for signing on today to join this webinar about the room tracking, specifically for the HITS event that's happening first in December and then later on January through March. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Ashley Dobbs. I'm the Sales and Marketing Coordinator for the Ocala-Marion County Visitors and Convention Bureau. We were supposed to be joined by Amy Agricola, who is the HITS representative. Hopefully she'll jump in on the phone call today. If so, I'll toss it over to her towards the very end once I kind of cover a few things here in the beginning. So let's get right down to it. Like I said, I want to keep this really brief. First, what you'll see there on the screen is the VCB mission statement. And the mission of the Ocala-Marion County Visitors and Convention Bureau is to lead, market, and grow our county's travel and tourism industry, cultivating greater prosperity for the entire community as measured by visitor spending, countywide visitor taxes collected, and tourism industry growth. Now, the reason I thought that this is important to share with all of you is that it's going to be really, I feel like it highlights a lot of the things we're going to talk about on today's call, and it obviously has a lot to do with like room tracking and the growth of the industry and things like that. So I thought it was really appropriate for today's discussion. So today's discussion, some of the topics we're going to cover are going to be room tracking and why it's important, the methods for tracking, and then, of course, I'm going to introduce you again to the IDSS system, specifically talking about entering in your contracted rooms and your pickup rooms. Now, first and foremost, why should we track rooms? Just the short and simple version is it helps keep accurate visitation statistics. The more we're able to track the rooms and see who's coming in for these events, the easier it is to justify and to see the growth year after year. So when we have events coming to the area and maybe they had, you know, just 50 or so rooms that first year, but if we see an exponential growth the next year and the number jumps to 150 room nights, well then it's great to kind of have those year-to-year statistics. Also, in addition to that, primarily the main reason is for event funding. Now, through the VCB, we offer a couple of different event funding opportunities. I deal primarily with the event funding. Corey Locke in our office deals with the sports marketing portion of funding. And either way, part of the funding through our office is there's some stipulations that go with receiving money through us. Obviously, we're a county office, and we have to account for every dollar, penny, everything that's spent. We are also solely funded by the bed tax. So because that bed tax helps pay for our salaries and keeping the lights turned on and all that other good stuff, it also helps fund new and upcoming events. So by tracking these rooms, it also helps justify the amount of funding that an event organizer would get through our office. We also wanted to make sure we're tracking rooms so we're keeping in line with the state statute 125.0104. We have a lot of guidelines we have to adhere to because we are in the tourism industry, so it's really important that we're keeping our goals in line with the state statute. Now let's go over a few ways that we can track these rooms. First and foremost, the simplest and easiest way to do this is simply when a guest checks in. I mean, I'm sure all of us have traveled at some point in time and we've gone to a hotel and we've gone to check in, and the frontline staff inevitably always asks, so what brings you to town? Most of the time my answer is for a conference. I mean, sometimes it's for leisure travel. But I usually say, oh, I'm here for an event, or I'm here for a concert, or I'm here for an art show, or whatever may have you. So the great thing is if a guest is coming in, this is a really great way to offer them a different level of customer service. The frontline staff can now engage with them, find out why they're here, and the great thing is your frontline staff would be willing to just simply have a piece of paper by their desk, or maybe you have a really great electronic version to track this. If you could just simply have them write down, oh, you're in town for HITS, let's just kind of check the box. And at the end of the night, once they've gathered, you know, like maybe 10 or 20 people have come in and they said they're all here for HITS, and they've kind of just have a little ticker tape next to their check-in schedule, then at the night they could potentially turn that into, you know, the GM or the night team manager. And then that way, it leads me to the next thing. When you're tracking through reservation codes, you can kind of do a checks and balances. You can kind of view like, oh, our frontline staff checked in 30 guests that said that they're here for HITS, and guess what? I had 30 people sign up through a reservation code to be in town for HITS. Or you might find that maybe only 20 people use that reservation code, but you had 30 people walk in the door for that same event. It's just a really great way to be able to not only engage with the customer, but then also use those reservation codes. But as we know, not everyone is always aware of a reservation code, so like I said, it's kind of that really great checks and balances. If your frontline staff is helping them and keeping track of it, and then you're also keeping track through, you know, an electronic reservation code, then that's super helpful as well. Now, with that in mind, those are things that, you know, you as on property can do, but in addition to that, there's another way that we can track. Here in our office, we use a system called IDSS. And IDSS is simply just a CRM, or known as a customer relations management tool. And this tool helps us manage our business database, helps us do event tracking, as well as generate leads, also known as RFPs or requests for proposals, and it also helps us with the room night tracking. Now, a few months ago, we had another webinar talking about receiving leads through the IDSS system. So I'm not going to go in depth on how to retrieve the leads. I will be more than happy to send out that webinar, and it's a really excellent training tool to help you be more familiar with the system. So I'm not going to go in depth with that today, but once you've received that lead generated through the IDSS system, you will in fact receive an email from the IDSS admin, and it looks very similar to the one that's on the bottom of that screen. So my recommendation is, on the next screen, we'll show you what that email address is. I would actually save this email address to your safe sender list. That way, whenever you are notified that you have a lead awaiting for you, you can simply click on the link in that email. It'll take you to the IDSS login system, and then you can go in and go ahead and respond to that lead. I have sent out all of your logins and passwords via the IDSS system, and it should have been sent to your regular email. If for some reason you did not receive that, I have a log of all of them. Just contact me, and I'll make sure my contact information is at the end of this webinar today. And feel free to let me know that you didn't receive it, and I will make sure that you get that login information. Now, the reason that this all is important is, sorry, let me go back one more time. Also located there on that, on your screen is the IDSS website, just the regular address to the site. You're welcome. You don't have to wait for me to send out a lead notification or any correspondence through IDSS. You're welcome to log in to your partner page. I say partner page. It's kind of like your little portal in the IDSS system, and you can log in at any time and view any leads or notes or anything like that at any time. Sorry, so we'll go to the next one. So with all that information in mind, once you've gone ahead and we've closed out that lead or that RFP, then what's going to happen is that event's going to take place. And then after that event takes place, as part of the wrap-up, we request that the event organizers go back and verify all the room nights. So I'm sure at some point in time, you know, Amy from HITS will contact each of you and say, I need to verify all the room nights and the guests that checked in for the HITS horse show. she'll probably have you sign a piece of paper or something like that. The other way that we can do it is for you to simply log in to the IDSS system. And as I mentioned before, I can personally go in and set a notification that will then send you an email saying that I'm requesting you as partners to fill in the contracted and picked up room numbers for this specific event. And as you can see there on the screen, it's as simple as receiving that email notification in your regular inbox, clicking on the link that's in that email, logging into IDSS. As we get a little bit more robust and there's more events, you'll select the specific event, and it'll be, well, actually I'll show you in the next screen. We'll wait for just a second. It'll actually show you the list of events, and you'll simply click on the hits for this instance, and then you'll just simply fill in your contracted and then your picked up rooms. It's really as simple as that, honestly and truly. It's simply just a matter of logging in, taking the amount of numbers that maybe your frontline staff got information from customers or guests, taking those numbers from the electronic room tracked numbers or reservation codes, and simply just entering them into the contracted and picked up tabs. Now on the next screen, this is what I was talking about. You'll actually see when you log in this under partners, that should be the name of your property. So you'll just always make sure that when you log in that it should have your property name listed there. Also, as I was talking about that email, that generated email, there's kind of an example down at the very bottom on your screen. And obviously where it says the DMO name, DMO is just simply going to be the Ocala Marion County Visitors and Convention Bureau. And it'll have a request like that on the screen. It'll say that I'm requesting your property to fill out the picked up rooms for the account name for you, like it would be the Hilton or the Marriott, or if you're Tuscany Apartment Place or HDG Hotels, that your name will be there, and then obviously the event name. In this case, it would be the HITS Ocala Classic, the Holiday Classic, I'm sorry, and it would list the dates December 9th through December 20th. So once you see that email, like I said before, click on the link, go ahead and type in your room numbers. Make sure you always hit the save button. Actually, let's go to the next screen and it'll show you a little bit better. So once you've typed in the days, go through each day of the week, the day you had somebody staying in the hotel or in the property, type in those numbers, hit save, and actually the system's really great because it'll actually total everything for you and for me, and I also get a notification every time you sign in. So anytime you come into the system and you need to write me a note, or you have a question, or you type in those room numbers or those contracted rooms, it'll send me like a little notification on the back end. I know it seems pretty simple, and I know it's been a little repetitive, but I went through the training again last week just as a refresher course, and I spoke to our representative who manages the IDSS system, and I said, it can't possibly be this simple. And she's like, no, I promise you, it really, really is. So there's no reason why we couldn't just, like I said, I'll generate that email, log in, type in the room numbers, hit save, you're done. You should be in and out of the system probably within 2 to 3 minutes if you have all the information in front of you, ready to type in those numbers. So again, on the next slide, that's just that IDSS website address. Again, you're welcome to save it. I can always make sure and send that information to you in a separate email. But again, most of the time you'll just get a computer-generated email from the system. You'll click on the link and it'll take you to the login site. Pretty simple. So next, in summary, if we can just take the time to greet every guest coming in, by being engaging and kind of finding out why they're in town and having your frontline staff make a notation for these events, it kind of serves as that checks and balances for all the people checking in that they're here for that specific event. In addition to that, obviously track your rooms electronically via the electronic reservation codes. That's always a good way. And then at the end of the day, you'll just need to simply log into IDSS and key in your contracted and your room pickups. Now remember, the whole reason for this webinar and for us talking about these things is the more that we're able to help these events grow, the more that events will come to town. Of course, more events equal more hotel rooms booked, which I know is incredibly important to all of you. But it's also really important to remember that the easier we make it on these events to make this tracking as seamless as possible, the easier it is to work with all of us, then obviously they'll be happy. They'll make sure that these events are growing each year. But more than that is it's just really helpful to the event organizers to make sure that they're meeting their room night requirements. And by having them meet those room night requirements, this will ensure that we're growing these events and helping to bring other businesses and events to Marion County. And obviously that's the most important thing. So with that, like I said at the beginning, I think we had everything muted, but please feel free if you have any questions to type it into the chat box. I'll be honest, I didn't see Amy log in today, so I'm afraid I can't toss over to her to see if she had anything additional to fill in, but hopefully I've covered everything. I know she and I have talked at length about what her needs are, and it's basically all the things that I've covered in this webinar. Again, I hate to just say it over and over again. We really got to get better about tracking these room nights, and I hope that I've shed a little bit of light on how to make that happen. I'm always here if you need any help with the system. I don't want anyone to feel intimidated by this system. Like I said, it's pretty simple. Once we get started and going with it, I think you'll find the transition is pretty seamless. My contact information is on your screen now. That is my direct line, and then of course that's my email address. The moderator for IDSS, they've offered to set up additional trainings. You can have private trainings. They have weekly trainings. So if you want to really get in depth and learn the system, I'm sure they're more than willing to help you, or I'm also willing to help you. I pretty much always have my phone on me, so please feel free to reach out at any time. So like I said, we are going to keep this really short and sweet today. So I hope everyone learned a little bit of something. I hope that it's not too confusing. Like I said, I'm here to help, and I didn't see any questions come through. So with that, we're going to keep it short and sweet, and I'm so happy that all of you took the time out of your day to sign in for this webinar, and I really, really appreciate it, and I'm sure I will talk to each of you soon. Thanks, everyone. I hope you have a great day.